And so your ability to identify what it is that is the highest value task that you need to accomplish, the one that moves the needle the most, the one thing, right? A1, that's the thing that you need to focus and concentrate on to its completion. Hey, welcome back. It's Rob here with you again with Chapter 12 of Brian Tracy's book, The 21 Success Secrets of Self-Made Millionaires. And Chapter 21 is all about priorities, and it is called Set Priorities on Your Activities and Concentrate Single-Mindedly on One Thing at a Time. Now, setting priorities is key. You've got to understand what are the most important tasks and what are those things that can wait or can be delegated or whatever it might be. But you've got to sit down and figure this kind of thing out if you want to be a highly productive person. And of course, high productivity leads to financial success, right? So as Brian Tracy points out in the chapter, setting priorities on your activities and being a high producer is necessary to succeed in life and to become a self-made millionaire. So how do we do this? What is the key here? What is the formula? Well, Brian Tracy gives us that as well, right? In the chapter. And if you don't have the book yet and you're just going by these videos are very short synopses, very short summaries of the information in the chapter. You really owe it to yourself to get the book if you don't have it already. I don't know what you're waiting for. We're on chapter 12 already. We're more than halfway through this thing. So get the book through my link there. You can also sign up for your free Audible trial. And if you don't have the book and you're just going by these videos, again, I'm going to kind of touch on some things, but you really want to see the whole thing as it's written by Brian Tracy. I'm just the reporter here, right? So let's talk about this, though, this setting of priorities and focusing single-mindedly on one thing. And if you remember, when we went through the Heads Up Baseball book, I talked very early on in that one about multitasking, and people think they can multitask. I'm not going to go into that again here. You can check out that video. But multitasking is really more or less a myth. Because, at least for high productive people, because multitasking pulls you away in 16 different directions instead of concentrating on one. And so here is the proof of that, I guess, through Brian Tracy's teachings, the self-made millionaire himself, talking about how to become a self-made millionaire. And setting priorities and focusing on one thing at a time. Those are the two keys. A lot of us set priorities, right? And we have a prioritized to-do list maybe. But then we get sidetracked with all the different things that we have to do and kind of muddle it all up, and then none of them get done the right way. Or none of them get done the best way they could be done. Or none of them get done completely, right? Some of them maybe. So the key here is to, before you begin a task, you've got to sit down and make a list of the things that need to get done, right? And then go over that list. And I like to use an ABC type of priority, construct, whatever you want to use to make sure that you're looking through that list and figuring out what the priority activities are, the high priority activities, right? And so I'll do, I learned this a long time ago, the ABC method. You put an A next to anything that's super important, has to get done today, right? This has to get done next, maybe, all right? But that's a little bit, I'm going to tell you that in about 30 seconds here. But A are the highest priority activities. B, once you're done with A's on the list, then you go to B, and maybe you get some B's done, and C's usually you don't even worry about. C's are things that might become B's or A's in the next couple of days, but they're not the things that have to get done right now. Now, once you've got your letters, you're probably going to have several A's and several B's. That's what usually happens with me. Now you go back through and you number them, all right? So you've got A1, A2, A3, right? Because 1 being the most important thing. So your A1, and this is the way, I think Dave Ramsey put it this way in one of his books, Entree Leadership, A1 is steak sauce, right? So, what's your steak sauce for the day? What's the one thing, right, that has to get done? A1, okay? A2, A3, you're going to go through those, but you're going to finish A1 first, all right? That's one of the big keys here. And you've got to ask yourself the key question, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? And as Brian Tracy points out in his book, there's only one answer to that question at any given time, All right. And so your ability to identify what it is that is the highest value task that you need to accomplish, the one that moves the needle the most, the one thing, right? A1, that's the thing that you need to focus and concentrate on to its completion. And that is how you get things done and you become a person of high productivity, because you are getting done with that task as quickly as possible so that you can move on to the next one. You're not doing some of it and then saying, oh, I got to get to this too, and then putting it aside, and then going on to the next thing because you have to get to that. Whoa, there's this thing I have to do. And then the phone rings, and then somebody comes in your office and starts to, all those things, all those distractions and all those diversions, you got to cut those out. And you've got to have the tunnel vision of getting that A1 thing done. And then when it's done, what do? You move on to A2 and you give it the same focus and the same attention. And that's the key to high productivity. And so this is not an easy habit to build, right? A lot of us aren't built this way, in a way that we can naturally do this. And so you've got to work at it, and you've got to use repetition in trying to get yourself to lock into this. It's hard at first, all right? But you can do it. And I know because, again, I'm speaking from my own experience in a lot of this material here, and I'm giving you the insights from this book, again, as the reporter, but I've also used this material. I've used this stuff in my life, and so I'm bringing you my own personal experience as well. And so one of the things that I learned from somebody that was a coach of mine a couple of years ago was to work from a calendar. And I take my Google Calendar, I'll put a picture of it up on the screen here during the video so you can take a look at it. I use my Google Calendar and I block everything. I block everything out on Google Calendar. And what I do with my tasks is they're color-coded for different reasons, different things, right? There's business and there's personal and there's fitness and there's different things on there, and they all are color-code. But when I accomplish each one, I turn the color to green. And if I miss something, I make it red. And that is my accountability, right? At the end of the day, I go back and I look back, and if it's all green, bingo, I just had a great day, right? Oftentimes there'll be maybe one thing on there that's red. A lot of times I do get it all green, which, again, this was a work in progress. This is not something that I started doing it in the very first day. Green, 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 woohoo! No. It took a long time, okay? It took a while to get there. It takes discipline, and that's a future chapter that we're going to talk about. It's probably the biggest key of all, but stay tuned for that one. But this working from a calendar, this idea, at first I did not like the idea at all. And my coach really encouraged me to do it. And another thing that I heard from a different, success coach, I guess you will, or business coach, is white space on your calendar is the devil in disguise. All right. When you have white space on the calendar, you are going to fill that with who knows what, but chances are it's not going to be a high productivity activity, right? Productivity activity. You're not highly productive in those moments where you have blank space on the calendar. So I don't put blank space on my calendar. I fill it all up. Maybe occasionally, if there's something that I don't know if it's for sure going to last as long as I'm blocking off for, then I may leave a 15-minute gap on the back side of that to give me a little bit of cushion. But most of the time, my calendar is blocked solid, and I sit down the night before. I don't. My coach recommended making the calendar a week in advance. To sit down on Sunday night and make a calendar for the whole week the next week. If that works for you, awesome. Do it. That did not work for me. I couldn't do that kind of thing. I've got too many variables in my life. So I do it each day, okay? And so sometimes it's the night before. A lot of times it's during the day. And I'll take 15 minutes to block out my next day and figure out all those things. Now, of course, there are some recurring things or some things that that need to go on the schedule in advance. And those are already there waiting for me when I go to put things together. And if it's a set time, a fixed time, then usually what I will do is I will color code that in red to let me know, even though it's a future thing and I haven't missed it, right? It lets me know that that's got to stay put. I can't slide that around. It's a scheduled thing at a certain time for a reason, right? But anything else, I will slide it around and I'll move things around and so that I can get to the point where my productivity is at its highest, right? And so whatever works for you, again, I'm just telling you what I do based on my experience, coaches that I've worked with, this book in particular, and this chapter and this lesson. But the action steps I have for you here are to start, if you don't already, start making a list of the things that you need to do and prioritizing that list. Don't just make a list, because then you'll hop around the thing and you'll figure out what you want to do and what you don't want to do. And then some of the things that you need to do aren't getting done, right? Because you're not really focused on those things. And again, it all comes back to concentrating single-mindedly on one thing at a time, right? So start making a list of your tasks and prioritizing that list, and then get in the habit of asking yourself, what is the most valuable use of my time right now? And get started on tasks like that, all right? Build this habit up over time. Again, it's not easy. It's not going to come overnight, but you got to give yourself some grace, and you got to keep working at it. And in the community, there is support for this, and I support all the people in the community with different questions and different things that I can help with, and that community is available through the website over at www.yoursoulsource.com/resources, all right? So head over there and get signed up with the email newsletter, and that gets you into the community where we share things and collaborate, and we all work toward winning together, all right? And we chase success. So if you got some value out of this, if this changed things for you, opened your eyes to working from a calendar or making a to-do list that's prioritized with steak sauce, A1, right? Put a like on this video. I love to see that. I really love to see the comments, though. Please leave comments. What do you think of this? Do you use a system, some sort of calendar system at all, right? And I want to know. So drop those comments and like and subscribe, and I will see you in chapter 13.
I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.